My name is Mary Whitney and I am the Director of Education in FutureCast. And in FutureCast, we work with construction and quarrying companies looking at driving digital innovation and technologies in the construction sector. And we also do work with marginalised groups. So we've really tried hard to increase the number of women in the construction industry, and we've worked on a few European projects with partners to try and level the playing field.
What do you feel is the situation of refugees in the construction sector in general, if you have an answer for this?
I think that we certainly could do better, and I think if you look at our history to date, the sector is mostly made up of male white men. We have, I think, a 9% European average, 8% Irish average of women in the sector. So there isn't a whole pile of representation in the industry at present. I do know during the boom era in Ireland, around the 2006-2007 era, there was a lot of migrants from Europe working in the sector. So I do think it's a welcoming place, and that certainly migrants would fit into construction. But I also think that there is work to do in terms of making that a more inclusive and a more welcoming space for people from different nationalities, religions, genders, and other minority groups, really.
Do you know which are the trades that refugees are in the construction sector usually employed in, and the situation treatment in these positions?
I would imagine that a lot of the migrants that come are in the manual skilled sector. So I would say that would be plastering, bricklaying, block laying, painting, plumbing. You know, the skilled trades, the electricals, that side of the house, I think, mostly.
How do you perceive the situation of refugees in the construction sector in the long term?
I think that the construction sector could be a great place for them to work. I think that currently the sector has a lot to do in terms of increasing representation from all sectors of society and all sides of society. At the moment, you know, it is mostly focused on men. They have work to do, but there are huge opportunities in the industry at present. We have a new wave of technologies coming in to try and expedite delivery and design of houses, and we have a huge ambitious target of 2050 to go and meet the carbon zero targets. So these are huge opportunities for the industry, and also I think we have a critical skills shortage. So there's loads of scope there to bring new people in and bring in new ideas. But in order for migrants or for any minority group to thrive in the sector also needs to set the enabling conditions to allow them to do well and allow them to thrive, whether that's getting language courses in place, whether that's kind of getting bridging courses in place to make sure that their skill level corresponds to the skill level here that's required to meet regulations and standards. So I think there's quite a bit of front-loading, upfront work that needs to be done by the sector and by the industry in order to make sure that people, when they come, that they can actually thrive.
What has been your experience regarding refugee integration in construction, if you know?
I know that in our own organisation in FutureCast, we have two projects, but they are coming from different funds. So one of them is, as I talked about, the ESF Plus fund, specifically focused on Ukrainian refugees. And then we also have a Just Transition Fund programme that we were awarded recently, which is looking to upskill and reskill people from the Midlands that were affected by the closure of peat, the bogs, I suppose, essentially. And they need reskilling and upskilling. So that Just Transition Fund was put in place to, you know, allow them to gain new skills. And as part of that programme of work, we have also included specifically the refugee community in Ballahadreen and the Ukrainian migrant community. So there are definitely initiatives happening that we're trying to say, let's bring people together, let's get people with the relevant skills, and let's try and bridge the gap where is
The main difficulties you face when you are training for construction programs?
I think there's always going to be language barriers, cultural issues. It's really important, I think, that people are equipped with cultural training. Really important to understand the nuances of different cultures so that there's no miscommunication. That's really the key. You know, people will be able to communicate if they're better aware of what their kind of societal norms and values and culture is. So that piece is really, really important. The language piece is really important as well, because again, you know, you don't want to be lost in translation. You want people to feel welcome. And I think, you know, having a baseline of just, you know, being able to work well and understand instructions is going to be key to thriving as well.
Do you know any actors, institutions, associations providing social services? And if you do, which ones are you familiar with?
Well, I've worked in the social justice arena for 5 years, so I mean, I'm very aware of all the kind of support services that are in place for disadvantaged groups, whether that's intro through job placements and you know, unemployment benefits. And then you have like key workers in a lot of the community organisations. There are specific migrant organisations as well. You have the Immigrant Council of Ireland doing a lot of work in that. You have the Irish Council of Civil Liberties. You have ICOS. There's a lot of them, but that's kind of on the national level. On the local level, I think a lot of your local community centres do a huge amount of work in this space as well. So I think it's really important to look at the resources locally in your area that kind of cover probably social issues, disadvantage, family resource centres. They're kind of places I would go, or I would signpost someone to go to. As
an educator in construction, do you have any other advice on how we can get more people of a refugee background or a migrant background interested in the industry?
I think there is a lot of really cool things happening in the industry, and I think that's the way forward, is to showcase what's happening. I'm not sure people really want to know about the kind of the negative aspects, which is kind of the statistics that we've just talked about, but if we can focus on painting a diverse picture, so if we can get more women in the videos doing really cool things. I was speaking to a lady from Estonia, and she works for an engineering company, and her contribution to me was that she has a really exciting job, and construction is for people with loads of different skill sets. So she said, I get to analyse data, like really big data sets now, not just small data from like a survey. It's like massive data sets, and I have to go and I have to analyse that data. So her point was that this industry is so diverse in terms of the jobs and the roles that you might be able to perform and to present and to paint that picture. So I really think if we can start looking at those newer jobs too, the BIM managers, stuff with the technology, the drones, yeah, I think people will then see, wow, there's loads of opportunities here. It's really exciting. They get to be outside. They're not sitting at a desk all day. They're meeting loads of people. They're building lovely things. And they're getting a huge part to play in building like a community and a built environment that's nice to look at, and green spaces and all of that kind of stuff. So I'd say it's a pretty cool industry. And if I had to rewind 20-30 years to career choices and stuff like that, maybe I would have considered construction. I'm not sure I would be like an architect or anything like that, but I do think there's something lovely to see your contribution in something being built and that you had a part to play in that. So I think it's a nice industry.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight, and you'll be inspiring people in Ireland and across Europe, because our partners are in different areas. So hopefully we'll bring more refugees and more migrants into the construction industry. Thank you.